exactly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't want to reject the theistic claims out of fear or for societal reasons.
Yeah.
And they don't want to say that they reject the claims, so they say they believe them, but that's two different things.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who will profess belief, and by the way, I have no problem with that. When people say, they write and say, well, should I come out as an atheist? You're the only one who can make up your mind. Yeah, I prefer as many outspoken, out-and-about atheists as possible. But not everybody's life is the same. And if you think that being out as a non-believer is going to make your life miserable, perhaps cost you your job or put your life or health at risk, or make your family life untenable to the point where you're now isolated and alone, then I have no problem with you not being out. And by the way, I have no problem with you not being out just because you don't want to. I mean, you do whatever you want. I'm looking for people who are comfortable with this and who have a good understanding, who are going to make good arguments or the best arguments and not necessarily bad ones. Do what you want as long as you're not, well, I sound like a Satanist there, as long as you're not hurting anybody. This discomfort that people have with being different, some people embrace that difference. I didn't used to be one of those people. I mean, it's not like, I've got a couple of tattoos, but it's not like I tatted myself up and pierced myself all over and ran around with green hair and, screw the world. That kind of, I'm going to be obviously different from everybody. But there's something to be said about embracing who you are. And if somebody's not out as an atheist for good reasons or bad reasons, it doesn't change who they are, what they believe. If, however, you are in the course of your hiding your beliefs, you are taking actions that are in opposition to your beliefs, actions that you think are not only wrong but harmful, then I'd encourage you to stop doing that. I don't know, I got kind of preachy on you, and this wasn't even your issue.
No, I agree with everything that you're saying, and
that's because I'm right.
Let's get back onto your topic if you have other callers calling in for.
Great.
I just wanted to say that it's a lot easier. People will be a lot happier if they're honest with themselves and say, I don't believe that, or I neither reject or accept those claims.
It is interesting because we get a lot of letters from young people that...
Thank you.
That's all right. From young people that they want to out themselves.
Yeah.
And they ask, how should I do this? And they'll give us a little bit of information about their family, and they'll say, my mom is really religious, my dad not so much so, but my brother moved out, and he said something about not believing, and mom got really upset, and I, feel like I want to come out, but I'm living at home. And one of the things I always ask them is that I'm like, first thing you need to ask yourself is, why do you want to come out? Like, what is it that you obviously want to for a reason. There's something that you're hoping is going to change with being able to come out, even if it's just, I want to be honest. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not being judgmental about it, but I always ask them to consider, what is it that you hope is going to change from being out as opposed to not being out? And number two, realistically, that thing that you hope will change, is it realistically going to change? So this is what you want to happen. Is that probably what's going to happen, or is it probably not? Because it's not going to be helpful to do something for a specific reason, like I want my mom to accept me as an atheist, but then in reality, she probably won't. So are you just going to make yourself miserable for the next 2 years while you live at home and your mom is really unhappy with you because you want her to accept you, but in reality, there's not a reason to think she will.
Yeah, and I've recommended all kinds of courses of actions to different people, as options. The idea that I'm going to come out as an atheist doesn't necessarily need to be mom, dad, I'm an atheist. One thing is just to be yourself, and you might be surprised how long it takes before the religion conversation gets around to, do you actually believe in a God? Then you can just honestly say, no. I think the idea is kind of absurd or whatever. We're almost out of time because we only got a couple minutes left, but I got Kyle in Australia.
Hello.
Are you there?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Well, yeah, good morning to you. What time is it?
Oh, over here it's about 9:30.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't have to get up too early. So, what was your call about?
Oh, so I just called in to just offer an idea of what might be considered as proper proof that God would exist. I'm not sure whether there's any biblical passages or anything that people could use to refute the idea straight away, but if God was to give me the same powers that he has, I'd believe it straight away.
Fair enough.
So is there anything that could be poked holes in if I was to use that in argument at all?
I don't know, give it a try.
I can't think of anything other than the Christian response or the theistic response, and primarily Christian, is going to be that, well, if that's the kind of evidence you're waiting for, then you have, unrealistic expectations, and that's never going to happen. My response has changed over the years to the point where now I'd say, if there is a God, then clearly that God knows exactly what it would take to convince me, and that's it. If that's the case, then he knows she, whatever, knows exactly what it would take to convince me. And the second that happens, I'll obviously be convinced.
One of the things I tend to say is that there's like a billion things that I could probably just name right off the bat that I accept exist. That it takes hardly anything to convince me something exists. Like this pen, it take nothing to get me to acknowledge this exists. It's not hard at all. I mean, this room is full of things that I acknowledge exist. And so convincing me that things exist is a very simple task. There's nothing hard about it, but yet I don't see any evidence of an existent God.
And unfortunately, we are completely out of time, which means I get to go play and have fun at Threadgill's. Any atheist or atheist-friendly person who can come. You can't. Sorry, Kyle, you're in Australia. But any of the rest of you who want to come down and join us, you're welcome to. We'll see you down there for drinks and discussion and whatnot. We'll see you also next week. Thanks. That's it. Make sloppy fans as the show's going off.